People from home, they're like, hey, Roy's home, right? Right? I can only imagine, you know?
Well, it's not even people, like, it could be just like people I coach or whatever. They'll just like, oh my God, you're awake? I have questions, or this happened. And like, they don't care when they text me.
And is there like a little, when you say coach, I saw that you're delving into that, and I think you're a phenomenal person.
I've always done it on accident. And then like everyone's like my buddy Brett's the worst. He's like, you should be charging for that. I'm like, yeah, I probably should. And then I just didn't.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy too, because, well, first of all,
yeah, what's that mean, coach? I want to know that part.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into that. But first, why don't we just announce what's going on here today? Because who do we have in the studio?
You tell me.
Mr. Roy Serafin. Did I say everything right? Did I say everything right?
I literally didn't know if I was supposed to answer or if it was...
Yeah. No, you're not allowed to talk.
Got it. Okay. It's a silent
right? Yeah, Roy. So I want to say a few things about you. Like the first time I met you was probably in church. Yep. Right? And when it was Victory. And you were very much in touch with integrating a church into modern technology as far as media was concerned, right? And that's when I noticed that, you know, like not all young people were useless. No, I don't mean that in a bad way.
Well, I didn't see that coming.
I'm glad to be the first one.
You were like, I'm like, there's hope for these people. Show me the way. Show me the way. So I love Alec too.
I was going to say, I feel like he's way more useful than I am most of the time.
He's a blessing in my life. Like he's my Mac consultant on a full-time basis. So he coaches me.
Yeah, there you go.
But anyway, this show's about Roy. And today it's me, Jay Casey, and
Fernando Lopez Jr.
and the
Roy Serafin.
Is it okay to say the Roy Serafin?
The is fine. I take the.
Like I take it. Yeah,
I don't usually announce myself that way, but yeah, I'll take it today.
Sir Excellency is how I like to be announced. Right?
Your honor, actually.
Your honor. Yeah.
I wear a gavel when I shoot.
That's cool. Hey, so the people that you mentor,
yes,
do they call you coach? What do they call you?
No, we go with Roy. I like to be on an even playing field.
And why is that important to you?
I don't want to talk down to anyone. I want to be at the same level. They might have something that comes up that like we'll talk about, and I won't be expecting it, or I will never have experienced what's going on in that case. So I'm really just giving them the advice that like what I would do in that situation. So if you go like, oh, you got to call me Mr. Seraphin, that there's an awkward.
Yeah, there is an awkwardness.
Yeah.
Like I instruct my younger son to talk to adults like that. But I think when you're giving someone professional advice, the way you're relating to them, Roy, is probably humongous to them. Yeah. Because it's more than even like a coaching connection. It's almost like, hey, I trust this guy because he's my friend.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Well, they might get intimidated too. Like if they see like awards or something like that, they'll come up and like, oh my God, this guy doesn't. I've had seconds say that, and I'm like, no, I'm just a regular guy. You're good.
Yeah, that's cool. And what is it that you do, Roy?
I'm a wedding photographer, a business coach, and an entrepreneur of many other things.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like when you said, I usually tell my seconds, and I'm like, seconds? I've only heard that, yeah, everything's recording. I only heard that when, for wedding photography or photography in general. Yeah. So now it makes perfect sense, man.
Yeah.
I only knew you as the graphic designer.
Yeah, that's fun. I haven't done that in years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is for me.
That's cool, though. But you do realize, I mean, maybe the listeners might not realize that I had an EP that I did in Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah. And Roy, he did do the cover for me, and it was cool because he also made the CD, which I don't even know if kids use CDs anymore. I'm pretty sure they don't.
I don't even know if my car has one now.
They don't. But what's cool is you made the CD look like a record. Yeah. Which I thought was really cool, really right? Cool, yeah. And the cover was fun, and I liked it because there's a fun side to the music that I like to make. Even though I wasn't happy with that music, the spirit of the music was on the album cover was more right than the music was.
Well, I know you.
Yeah. See, I feel like that's humongous.
Yeah. You got to read people, especially with design. You have to you're essentially, and you probably see the same thing. Like you have to pull out that personality of what they're trying to get first.
Come on and shoot. Junior always says what, Junior? They don't speak like.
No, you're right though. You have to pull that out. That's important. So relationship is important. So you guys had a relationship.
Yes.
He put the design together. He caught the spirit of what was going on. The spirit of you. You might not have been happy with the music, but you were happy with everything else, right?
I was like, hey, bro, do you produce music?
I need you to do one more thing.
Yeah.
I would have grabbed my phone and I said, not well.
not well. But here, I'll watch one YouTube video. And, you know, I mean,
so where are you currently staying?
So I'm in the middle of the move the time I picked to move was terrible.
Okay.
So I'm in the middle of getting ready to move in my new apartment.
Okay.
Which took about 8 months to find.
And where are you?
In Tampa. Yeah.
In Tampa.
Yeah.
Did it take? Why though?
We put in offers on houses. We looked at houses. The house would be, before I even got into town, because I was moving from across states, would be like, they'd sell it and nobody was inspecting anything. And I did real estate when I was like 18, so I'm not doing that.
Dang. Okay.
And then the apartments, the first two I picked, like they had one had a water main thing happen, then a storm came through and destroyed the windows. The other ones were like, well, we can't let you in. And I'm like, well, I don't want to wait. And then I ended up waiting longer than I was going to wait in the first place.
Right.
And then just like Tampa, like it's the #1 growing city in the country right now. So it's like it's huge.
I had no idea.
Yeah, everybody's moving in there. So like when I started looking, I think like a 1-bedroom was like $1,200. It's like no big deal, right? And then it jumped from like a 1-bedroom is now $2,400. Wow. And I'm like, that's a house.
Yeah.
That's
my
insane,
dad lives
man.
in Tampa, and I remember he's like, oh yeah, but there's all kinds of places available, blah blah blah. Then like in the last 4 years, they had a boom right there. And what's crazy is like you'll have these places that look really run down, but a young person with that either got money or whatever, they'll come through and buy like 3 of the houses, put all the property together, make a mansion. So it's like you're going down the road, and there's like all these rundown places, and all of a sudden you just see this massive beauty.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah.
They also do, what is it? They're mobile homes, but they're really, really like nicely well done.
Yeah.
These are manufactured homes, man.
And I just can't, like, I looked at one, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm from Indiana. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't want to. This is a downgrade.
Yeah. Like that looks like that would fly in a tornado. Down here they have hurricanes.
That's a whole nother level.
Hang on to your pop can. Now,
so why did you pick Florida in general?
Well, 2020 was originally going to be Arizona, and then
I remember that.
Yeah, I was working there all the time, and then we had like the riots happened, and this all coincided with me going down for one couple. So we had the riots happen one weekend. Then we had, when I was there, it was crazy. There was Humvees and everything in town.
You're like the
car
military.
dealer. Yeah, the car rental place shut down in the airport, so I had to get a buddy to drive me over. And then like there was like literally Humvees and tanks at like Chipotle.
This is America, by the way. Did you say a Chipotle?
I'm not even kidding you. A Chipotle parking lot. There was like 3 Humvees and then some other, I don't know any like the terminology. Just a big thing I didn't want to touch. Was there. So that happened. And then the next morning I was trying to, I was going out and I was going to like pick up something to drink. So I walked over to the gas station, as I typically do when I travel. I'm grabbing it. It's like, it's like a ridiculous thing to see, but like, it's like walking out with with like a slushie.
Yeah.
And there was a riot. There's taquito, slushy, everything. Yeah. So we got the cold and we got the diarrhea. It's perfect.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The mixture is going to be great.
Oh man.
So I'm walking outside and there's a bunch of like riders out there, and a guy like grabs me, puts a knife up to my throat.
Please stand by.
And then I'm like, yeah, I got held at knife points.
Did you say, do you need a life coach?
I wish. I just said, here, take my stuff. And the slushie.
And the slushie.
And the slushie. I was hoping he just wanted the slushie, but no. So he grabbed my wallet or whatever, had my ID on it. And then I had to like walk around downtown Phoenix with like no ID just to get an ID, because I wasn't gonna, or just to get a rental car. And I had to download my ID from the Indiana State.
Insane, Roy. That's a crazy story.
While Humvees are around.
Yeah.
Random guy just come.
Oh, and they destroyed so there's 3 big malls in Chandler. There's like the Fashion Mall in Scottsdale. Right. There is Chandler Fashion Square in Chandler, and then there's like the Arizona Mills Mall. Yeah. All of them had just been ransacked.
Wow. And a day in the life of Roy Serafin.
Holy smokes.
And when I flew in, they shut
like,
down
man, I'm right around Gary, Indiana, and never got a knife.
Never got a knife, right?
Yeah. I go to Arizona. This is crazy.
I used to walk around abandoned buildings with my camera for fun, and I'd never been held at knife points.
Right. Yeah.
I'd run into things, but not that.
All right. Yeah. So Arizona, and then what happened in Tampa? Like, how'd that go down?
So ever since then, like when I was flying into for like the first year, I was flying into Arizona, I'd get like a panic attack. I'm like, okay, I can't live here because that's difficult. Yeah. And then middle of like the virus and everything kind of being shut down and everything, went to Florida. And it was like nothing was going on. Like they were still hanging out. I mean, whatever. Yeah. It was just relaxed. So everyone was just way more low key. And I was like, all right, well, I kind of like it here. And then the venues over there are just fun.
Yeah. And what about, so when I started thinking about that too,
sure,
Roy. So here you are, by the way. Roy is his own independent entrepreneur, runs his own photography studio. He did the most flattering pictures ever taken of me in my life were taken by Roy while I was on stage. And he told me why. He's like, no, it's because of your size and the guitar. I'm like, dude, just thank you for taking those photos.
You have, what is it called? You have the Tom Cruise.
Oh, okay.
What is it? Proportions.
Girls, get out of my DMs, okay? Get out of my DMs. So anyway, except for I do have this problem where I have to have underwear with large sack area. So I don't know if Tom has
that. I didn't take any details.
Okay, yeah.
The guitar covered all that. So you got
Thankfully.
lucky.
So
you're phenomenal, but it blows my mind because I feel like, and I wanted you to just say this.
Sure.
Why would somebody that's been on the stage of Lollapalooza, right, and taken photos of rock stars in his lifetime, what is appealing about taking because I went on your website, and Roy, it ain't normal. Like the photos you take of people make people feel rich.
Yeah,
I'm just being honest with you.
That's really cool.
They're in love and they're famous. You make them look famous.
I have a few couples that I've accidentally made famous.
Oh, I bet. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So with like celebrity, when you're shooting like celebrities, you're like the 400th person to take their photo since 7 a.m. that morning. So they don't really care. And then there's not really a story to it. They just got on stage. They're going to take photos. They're getting their photos taken. And you're in the pit. And as a photographer, you don't actually really, like any pit, you barely ever get paid in it. What? So like, it's crazy. Well, because who doesn't want to go shoot like, I don't know, like Good Charlotte for free?
Good point.
Like everyone's coming in for that. Yeah. They put a little post on the internet. They'll probably get some kid with a phone that's been like going viral.
We'll talk about that too.
So like there's nothing there. But then like wedding photos, that only happens once. Nobody is investing. So you have like this really, really cool connection between these two people. You find out what it is, and then legitimately outside of that area, that's it. Like they're not going to do that again. Listen to what I say. So if I don't nail that, it's not perfect every time, then I've missed a whole opportunity.
So you appreciate that challenge, Roy?
Oh, I love it.
And it's lucrative.
Yes.
Let's be honest, right?
That's good.
I mean, let's be honest. In this last year, because people couldn't get married, I can't even imagine your schedule right now.
It is very confusing, and sometimes I forget where I'm at.
and that's why you were late today. No, I'm just kidding. I gave you the wrong time. Jesus,
you said 5. And listen, I was only 11 minutes off. I was like, I'm gonna be an hour early. This is good. And then you're like, oh, damn it.
Yeah,
that was the conversation in his head right before he called him. Huh?
Exactly.
Yeah. I told Junior, by the way, I don't got to go to the union meeting tonight because it's been postponed. And then I told Junior 5, but didn't tell the guest 5.
See, the thing is, though, I think you did because I remember the number 5, but I can't find a single email, text message, nothing about it. So,
but he remembers it.
Yeah, that's all that matters, right?
Wow.
It happened. I just don't know where.
So cool, man. So you moved to Florida, and I would think moving to Florida, doing what you do incredibly well.
Thank you.
That is a place where the season of weddings maybe is longer.
It's opposite.
It's opposite.
So up here, you have dead zones like when it gets cold, right?
Yeah.
So the winter, that's when they want to get married. Because in the summer, it's 900 degrees, pure humidity, and nobody wants to be in a 3-piece suit.
Yeah, it's funny. You're not cutting a wedding cake, you're cutting the humidity, bro.
Exactly,
That's crazy.
Although the first wedding I ever did in Florida was August.
It was August. Like people don't understand, right, how hot it is. And
no,
because I've golfed in July after 2 p.m. in Florida, and those people, I'm like, why is anyone on the golf course? They said, "Are you crazy?"
The heat is probably
I can't even imagine.
The heat gets bad. I mean, again, you're wearing like the wedding dress. Like that's a lot of weight. Those things I've picked them up and be like, oh, okay. Like they're getting a workout in those things.
Yeah, I can.
And then guys in 3-piece suits, and they got to wear this. Nobody wants to do that in the middle of summer. So what happens is you get just elopements in the summer. Like people who are not from the area, who are thinking the exact way you think, are like, oh yeah, we'll come do that, and then they get there and like, oh, this is terrible.
Yeah, it's absolutely awful.
This ain't going down.
Like,
not today.
Yeah. Listen, before we go to the hotel later tonight, honey, we gotta shower separately because this has been a whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's opposite. So Florida is like super busy September on.
Yeah.
Until like May-ish.
So somebody could literally be a snowbird photographer.
I've been that for a few years, but after a while you get tired of like you get the few weddings up in the snow and you're like I don't want to do this.
Yeah, that would be nuts, man. What you got for him, Junior? Junior's mind's going 1,000 miles an hour because you guys your fields relate.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, spit all over the board over here.
It's not my board.
Yeah.
I guess I was wondering, like, it just seems so fast paced and so, how do you slow the time down?
Good question.
How do you slow the time down in a place where, like, not only do you have a fast paced job where you're fighting light.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
there's a fight against light. There's a fight against the time of day. You're fighting against and aside from just the wedding part of it, then you're also you're going against like everyone trying to get a piece of you.
Yeah.
Social media, the fast pacedness of everything. How do we slow down time?
This is how we like to do it.
Well, like on a wedding day, like I can at this point, because I've shot like 200 some odd weddings, I know what's going to happen before it happens. So I can see something like, okay, well, this person's about to do this, so I need to be over here, and then I just position that second photographer that I have with me most of the time in an opposite angle. So I'm getting either I'll grab like one person's reaction, he'll grab the others, and then cool. I'll also have two cameras and shoot them like pistols. So I'll have them out here, look at the screens, and I'll kind of just look at what's going on.
And we can get those cameras at Walmart. We can get those cameras.
You can.
Not those
probably
cameras.
The website. It'll come from like a third party person. I don't know.
Yeah, it's for $4 billion. But
Sure.
I'm sure, right?
They're not as bad as I think people think. Or my scale is just really off now.
Your scale is off.
Yeah.
Your scale's off.
Like I'll look at like a $2,000 camera. I'm like, okay, that's a good deal. And everyone else is like, that's crazy. But I also have worked with the $6,000 camera, so it's really not that bad.
Yeah, right.
Gotcha.
You're a little biased.
So going back to time and managing that, like what's the busiest time for you in the year?
It used to vary. It doesn't vary anymore. It's
you're just busy.
It's just like
wow,
it's
that's incredible.
If you open your phone right now, the little icon where your email is would say like 1,000 unread.
It'll say like I have a very strict like filtering thing now.
Okay, all right.
So it'll say probably like 3 or 4, and it'll be from like last hour or 2.
That's awesome. So what do you mean filtering?
So like I mean you get rid of the spam emails, the company emails,
okay.
The sales emails for like random companies that are trying to get me to buy their albums or whatever.
Okay.
Those all get filtered out, and some of them get forwarded over to my assistant. Some of them get forwarded just to stay there, and some of them I just entirely ignore, depending on what they are. So that's always busy. Social media is not as busy as what people think it is.
Okay.
Because the way I do it is I schedule it out like 100+ days in advance.
Absolutely brilliant.
Okay.
Wow.
So I don't spend much time on there.
Okay, I got you.
It's not a lead source for photographers like they think it is. It's a really great place to support your friends and your business vendors that you want to work with.
We're talking about social media?
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
But that's all I use it for.
Yeah.
So like vendor advocacy.
So I'm guessing that this all came about because there was times where you got frustrated because you had 1,000 emails that were unread because social media was just out of control.
Driving me nuts.
And then you started, during that time, did you feel like a disconnection?
Yeah, well, it's
even
just,
though like you're so connected, but you feel anxiety,
just like constantly.
You just can't answer everybody at once or make everybody happy. So like at a certain point, you have to start filtering them out.
The reason I'm kind of like coaching these questions in that manner is because I've found that in my own life, as of recently, I value my time so much more.
I value my time so much more.
Yeah.
So like I don't want to miss the sunset. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
I want to be alive in the moment. I don't want to come across my kid and my kid's telling me, or kid could be metaphorically for anything, but I don't want my kid to come give me, like, hey dad, I just did that. I'm like, hey, can you go get me water? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm too busy answering these.
Is it like a little butler?
Yeah. I'm too busy answering these messages from all this chaos that's going on in my life. Yeah. And I feel like to get to the next level, you got to the next level of photography. You're telling me that you're scheduling things 100 days out.
100? This is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. So you've gotten to the point, in climbing the ladder where you're like, okay, these things that used to be a number 8, a level 8, chaos for me is now like a level 2 because you've put procedures and processes in place to help you.
Well, you read your numbers, so you got to look at like, okay, so if I'm spending, I don't know, however many hours a day on Instagram, is that actually producing anything for me, or is it really just like a thing to do?
Gotcha.
And so like after a while, you're just like, I'll check if something happens, or I'll set up notifications for very certain people to post.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm not really on there very, very often.
Right.
Pinterest, you schedule that out like over time. You just grab, basically you set up a blog for that, and then you have it auto post for months.
Okay.
Because that can be recycled.
Yeah.
Facebook, it doesn't matter.
Not
It
anymore.
just doesn't matter.
Yeah, not anymore.
Well,
right?
they've made it like impossible for it to matter. Like you have to pretty much pay every single time you want someone to see something from you, and there's better ways of doing it. So you learn to kind of filter those things out. And like for me, the most important thing is Google. Google is absolutely number one.
And that's where I saw your picture.
Yeah.
How does that work? Google, tell me.
Okay.
I mean, just a quick. You don't have to just a little.
Yeah.
It can get really, it gets really intense, but essentially you have the opportunity to think about the person that you're trying to contact directly and what they might be searching. So guy getting engaged, he's definitely looking for engagement locations. Like, where should I propose? How should I propose? Whatever. You write content that fits that mindset.
Okay.
And then that guy is going to message you because you've made his life easier.
Okay.
Like he doesn't have to think as much. He's like, oh, wait a second, I just pay this guy. I look like a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they'll send you the message there versus like you're pretty much just throwing stuff out on social media and hoping something comes back.
Gotcha.
Wow.
But there's different mindsets you would write for. You know, the bride's going to be different from the groom. The groom's going to be different from the bride. The mother-in-law that wants to buy an album for herself is going to be entirely different. But you have to educate that that's even a possibility.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
That's incredible. Like, I just feel like, Roy, we're going to dive into your education.
Sure.
But obviously, the lifestyle's been an education because you're not a business major.
Yeah, no.
So, I mean, and the modern entrepreneur, like Junior, I watch what Junior's doing too all the time, like the way he's trying to connect to people. Like most people, I do appreciate that you said you had an assistant.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I have no choice.
Yeah, you had to. That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. That means that's a good sign of good business, right?
Yeah.
100 days out. Most people, Roy, when they think about taking a leap to supporting themselves for a living, the idea of being like, well, how awesome is it to be able to say, well, I've got the next 3 months of my work scheduled for me. Most people don't get there, but let's talk about how you got there and what sacrifices you were able to make. If that's okay, you think, Junior?
I would love to hear that.
And like, what was your education, Roy? Because everyone wants to know now, how does somebody, I mean, you're coaching people, and we're going to link all of Roy's stuff in the bio of the video, of course, right? Definitely. And, but give us an idea of your first photo you're taking, you know, of the girl across the street while she was changing in her bed.
No.
I'm sorry, that's been expunged.
Strike it from the record, please.
Yes.
So for education, just in general, that it like there's many ways to like there's a lot of ways to figure that out. For me, I would not recommend like college is not. You don't need that. That's just not. Yeah. It's too old school. It's not going to be necessarily relevant to what you want. And they teach you a skill set. They don't teach you how to sell it. So you learn a lot of things just to carry around for no reason. And then by the time you learn how to sell it, it probably isn't being used anymore.
Yeah. Right.
So for me, it was a lot of YouTube. It was a lot of like Instagram specific back in the day because that was the big thing.
There was a time, right?
So you would reach out to photographers around there and say, okay, I want to shoot, and they'd say, okay, we're going out to Chicago this night, and then you just went that night and every night after that, and so you just start picking stuff up. That's how I mainly learned. Right. But at the time when I first started, I was actually I was an art director in Chicago. So we were working on advertising campaigns, and my job was to hire photographers.
Wow.
So I'd have an idea of what I wanted to see, and then they'd come in and they'd be like real close.
You'd be like, that ain't it.
It wasn't it.
Give me a camera, guy.
Now, when I shot it, it wasn't even close either. But I picked up a camera and I started shooting with them while we were working. I'm like, no, I think you need to go over here. And then they'd get it closer. And then I got really addicted to it, and I started doing travel stuff and night stuff and meeting with people, and it just became like an addictive hobby.
Your education was osmosis, man. You stuck to those people, and then a need. I love that, a need. It was born out of a need.
Yeah.
You know, and then of course just kept growing.
I think that is so amazing. Yeah, that's really cool. I did that very similar thing in the graphics world where I just, I didn't go to school. I tried school, but the professor at one point, he literally took me aside after class, and he's like, "Hey, they're hiring a graphic designer over here, and you're a better fit for it than me." Because I used to help him teach the class. Yeah, and then it was crazy. I was like, oh, "Okay," and I'm not downing them.
Can I get my money back?
Yeah, and so I applied for the position, got the position, and surrounded myself with a lot of amazing talent.
Yeah.
And I didn't, you can't see, like, some things don't look the way they should look. Exactly what Roy was talking about. And I love that story. That is really cool. So that's the origin right there.
That's the origin. And then after that, like, there's obviously mentors and other photographers that you deep dive into their courses and move on from there. And that's pretty much the only way I learn now. Now I'll find I'll find the expert and I'll pay them to teach me whatever it is that I'm missing.
Wow.
I love that.
And so I did that, like, with Google, for example. I took 3 different courses for it at different prices just to see what the different education level would be. So, like, the first one was like $50. It was like a YouTube find. Not actually that bad.
Right.
Maybe not super accurate, but not that bad.
Right.
Then there was another one for some other photographers that were running it specifically for them. And it was good, but they're way too technical for me. Okay. So it was like I couldn't pick up what they were grasping on. And then the third one was my buddy Jeff. He's super just like, oh, this is all you really need to know. And then I got and I paid. I think his course was actually the highest, probably like 5,800 somewhere around there.
Wow.
Which is crazy expensive, but it was the only one that got me through. Like, okay, now I understand it, and now I can understand the course I bought, like, in the middle.
And that's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah. That is crazy. His was a more advanced course, but actually it gave you retrospective ability to understand when you had purchased that also counted for you.
He spoke to me in basic photographer terms, and then this is how you would use it. This is really all you need to know from that versus, like, this is a link inside of, like, the back end of Google you need to fix. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah. So his was more layman.
Yeah. And that's super helpful.
All this is in conjunction to your website or tied into the website,
so it's tied into the
blogs,
website
or things that you post like that.
It's all related.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
what do you think, Junior? Do you think that's so the heart of the way you learned there? Because I'm going to tell you something about music. When I try to explain something to somebody and I can see that they're struggling, I know what it is. They've been on YouTube and someone's like, well, you got to use a low pass filter and a high pass filter. Like, there are things people who have achieved a certain status. And they like to use it because they sound important, but they're not as effective, right? So now you're doing this mentoring and coaching on the side, right? The spirit of the way you talk to these people, is it more the way that most impactful for you? Is that the way you learn to speak to them now, or is it more intuitive to the person?
So it's definitely a reading. It's a relational type reading of that person, but it's also like, oh, I did it this way. You shouldn't do that.
Wow, that's huge too.
So there's a lot of that. Then there's a lot of, kind of like, oh, this is how I would handle it because of this. Or just, it really depends on what they're learning. Because they'll come to me for creative shooting. They'll come to me for, how do I book more clients? What are some marketing strategies I can use? Like, my business is just completely, it's terrible. I don't know what's going on. And then I have to go and, like, really do a full audit of what it is that they have and see where I can kind of fit in.
So now what is it that you're offering from a coaching perspective so that we fully understand it?
For sure. So there's creative coaching, which is relating to photography directly. That's like shooting. Then there's creative business thinking, which essentially it's like, I don't know if that's the correct term for it, but that's kind of what we do. We just get people to think a little outside of the box or ignore the 15 YouTube videos that they watched from people who have like 3 views.
Damn.
Yeah, I like that. A lot of practical stuff.
My uncle told me to do this. Yeah, I know.
I like it.
This is how it worked in 1978, and I think it works the same now. Like, no.
So that's the part of teaching that really affected me is I feel like I was on a cusp of learning a completely different way, but from 1950 to 1989 when I got into high school, they've been teaching the exact same way, and it never changed.
Never.
So I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, I don't get it that way. Later on, as I got older, and I'm like, now I know that I am. I like to touch, and I got to be part of it.
Yep.
Wow.
I got to see it and I got to hear it. That's how I learn.
Okay. So you're kinetic first.
Yeah. So I have to.
Smart.
Use. Yeah.
That probably don't work.
Go into that really quick. Go into the different types really quick.
So there's
a good idea.
There's an auditory learner. There is a visual learner, and there's a kinetic learner, and then there's actually the doer. The auditory learner, visual learner, kinetic learner, the doer.
Okay.
So that person is best, like the doer's best if they shadow you.
Okay.
They have to come with you. They'll ask you questions as you're kind of shooting.
Maybe I am that guy. I'll go.
There's another all there. That's a combination of all 3.
Okay.
But then there's the kinetic learner where, like, if they have to do it, but you also have to let them do the entire thing. Like they're not learning from they're not learning from you directly as much as like you're pointing out where they're not doing it right as it goes on. Okay. Then you have the auditory learner. So that's someone who can listen to a podcast and they'll know exactly what it is.
Man, I have those moments. I feel like I have moments of everything that you're talking about, but I am probably the doer.
Creatives are typically like a kind of a mesh of all these. Because like for me, I have to watch something, listen to it, write it down, and do it, and then I have to explain it to someone else.
And that seals
the deal. That's so awesome. That seals the deal. Yeah, like when you wake, you had an idea in your mind, you wake up and you write it down.
Yeah.
Because you right. So that final sealing the deal is you basically from an orator type of thing. You're telling the story of what you just learned, and that seals the deal for you. That's incredible.
And it works the same way for if I have an idea. I can't even if I have the idea and I understood it when I wrote it down. I have to tell someone about it, or it won't make any sense to me later on.
Yeah, I can see you now. Like, sir, you got to understand, I'm a kinetic photographer. I'm going to need to touch your wife.
No, we don't touch.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I bet. Okay, let's just be honest. Let's just take a break here from let's be completely honest. You walking around with that camera, you're a chick magnet. Let's just be honest, okay?
If I am, I don't notice it.
Yeah, you're a bridesmaid magnet. There ain't no way you're not anyway.
I was actually part of a photography group that was talking about that earlier, and the best way I can explain it is that section of my body is off at that point. Like I'm just focused on the job because you have to be. There's so much like trust that's given as a male photographer that people don't realize. Like I'm in the dressing rooms. I'm like making sure we're getting ready photos, doing details. They might change like right over there. They don't seem to care that I'm there. And you have to realize that that's a level of trust and respect that you really have to be careful about.
Oh, you're talking about professionalism.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. It just hit me when I remember when I first met you.
Yeah.
It was. I want to say it was like Bacon Fest. It was a festival
of some sort.
And you were selling a T-shirt, I think.
Yep.
Did you make T-shirts?
I made T-shirts for the church. I never actually directly sold them.
All right. Well, it was T-shirt. I just remember seeing you in some T-shirts, and I'm like, it just hit me. I'm like, oh my goodness.
I still wear that shirt to work out in, by the way.
Which one was it?
High quality.
I see them every once in a while. And I'm like, oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah, the graphic's great. Of course. Did you design that graphic too?
I did.
Sure. I'm sure.
The last one, I think they had somebody they knew in Vegas or something like that did it. I don't know. But I know the ones that I did, yes, I did design them entirely.
Mm-hmm. Of course you did.
That whole thing it's a wonderful thing that took its own life and just kind of grew into something spectacular.
It's wild.
Everybody loves bacon.
Yeah.
Well, you got to think about it. Like there's someone in Vegas who's now designing something for a small town in India, like for port. It should technically be the other way around,
right?
But it worked backwards. It's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? Like, okay, so then we are talking about outsourcing, okay, a little bit, right? Like,
of course,
we're gonna move right into the outsourcing conversation because this is a pet peeve of me.
Sure,
right? I do believe people should be able to say, "Hey, Roy, I would love for you to take the photos, but I only have $600," and you could say, "Well, this is what I can offer." But what I don't like, Roy, is someone says, you give someone a quote because you're a professional, and Junior probably has, this happens to him all the time.
Sure.
And they're like, oh, dude, you can't cut me a better break than that. I thought we were tight.
That's
like,
not
as tight as your wallet.
So it depends on what it is that I'm
And I'm going to say why later, Roy. Why? Please keep going, but I'm going to say why later.
For sure. So like the first thing you said with the $600, then I can do something for you. I probably would just refer them to someone I trained.
Right. Awesome. That's so cool.
But it would have nothing to do with me at that point because I don't want to be in charge of something.
Right. Yeah, that's cool.
For that. As far as the guy who's kind of tight, like that might actually be, for me, that's probably somebody who doesn't value what it is I'm doing.
Yeah.
And he's probably just trying to make somebody happy. So photography, wedding photography especially, is not, I don't sell on the value of me. I sell on the value of you valuing your moments. So one question I always ask people when they're doing like the consultation is imagine a moment in your life where you really were proud of something that you didn't get any photos back. What are those moments? What would those moments be worth to you at this moment if you could get them back right now?
Yes.
If you could get them back right now.
And then I say, well, my job as your photographer is to make sure you don't feel like that about your wedding.
Yeah.
So that, like, now all of a sudden we're talking about entirely different things.
Yeah. And 3 people are crying in the room.
It's happened.
Yeah. That's so cool. And the reason I went down that line
for sure
was because you said the word value, and this exact same thing, Junior has described it, the exact same thing, that he will direct people to people he's mentoring. Yeah. He will do that same technique, which I love that you two share that in common. But I know people take great photos. We have a friend that does a lot of shooting work with his iPhone.
And it's insanely good.
And with attachments, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, like the same thing happens a little bit in music. Like the average person, Roy, you almost have to educate them to understand the difference of Roy.
Right.
Right. So, and you can show them a photo, but I've seen people like who don't know the difference between a song on their iPhone and a song through both speakers.
There's a term for this that comes with like a website design and a functionality of the site, right? Like they're putting you in the bucket, but if your price doesn't match at that point, that's a problem. So what you want them to see first, like for me, if you go to my homepage of my website, I want them to go through the experience stuff first, where they learn what it is that I do differently, and then they can look at portfolio, and then they can contact me. Yeah. If you do it the other way around, where they're just looking photo to photo, like the average person has no idea what the difference is between those two photos. No. So they're just like, well, this person's going to save me $2,000, so they must be awesome, and they may not be. They may have just picked their one best photo they've ever taken, and that's it.
Yeah, people get lucky.
Yeah.
You know, you can be a one-hit photography, one-hit wonder.
Yeah, you can. And
happens
you
in
can
music,
even
happens everywhere, right?
You can even what's like you can find someone who's just learning and has not really figured out the client process afterwards that you can get a deal on, but you're gambling at that point.
Yeah,
you're always gambling.
Yeah, that's crazy. So because the technology, which is the other aspect, like I don't know how many people, I mean, hey, they can go on Canva, right? They're going to tell Junior, hey, that's cool, dude. I realized that you needed $1,500 from me, but I just went on Canva, right? And I just downloaded an app on my iPad and I just made this ballsy, logo for my business. And then you're like, oh my God, you're going to put that on your car? But so because of technology though, and then apps, people think, Roy, that they can compete with you. And I feel bad for those people. You know, and you seem to be real classy about it, but
I let them.
Yeah,
go for it. Try it. You're gonna miss a lot of stuff. I explained like there's a point they'll go through the website and then they'll either get to that funnel where they talk to me or they don't. And then after that point, I will explain to them every detail that I could that would give them as to why it would matter if they didn't go with me or they went with, or even if it's not going with me, because I will give them like, hey, listen, I understand if I'm totally out of budget. Here's someone that I know will take care of you in the level that I just explained. It's not the same as me, but it's close.
Wow.
So like they'll get in that bubble. They'll understand everything from that point on. And then really like the sale side of it isn't, do you value Roy? Roy doesn't matter in that scenario. It's what do the moments mean to you, being like what are them being captured and brought back to you mean to you versus like anybody else?
I'm so gonna use all this stuff now when I
don't see. Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna charge you for coaching.
Amen.
Well, the thing is, I feel like I'm going in the right direction with that, but I feel like there's certain elements that I was missing, and I hear you talking about them. I don't know all the specifics, but I know that. I used to give people like intermediate, better, best.
Like the version of Junior they paid for.
Yeah. Well, because I would have like a lot of clients that would, they want a certain look or feel or whatever, but they just don't have the money, budget, right? The budget for it. And over like the course of the last 6 years, I've really moved away from that because I really value my time. And like it seemed like the guy that's only paying me like, a third of what the project is worth wanted to take up all my time.
Now that's some cold-blooded truth right there. Yup.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
That's the first thing I teach photographers.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's the first thing we talk about pricing and we say, you can either do things two ways. You can be expensive or you can be free. But if you go the other two directions, you're broke.
You can be free or expensive.
Yeah, that's it.
So imagine, okay, so I used to, my work folder, I call it work in progress. That work in progress folder would have hundreds of projects.
Yep.
But the bottom line at the end of the year just didn't reflect hundreds of projects. Then over the years, that folder has been getting less because I've been more selective with the people that I'm working with. But the end result, as far as monetary, right?
For sure.
Got better. And then now the folder's way less.
Yeah.
The end goal, the monetary, seems like a lot more per project. But the best part of it has nothing to do with any of that. It's just like I have time.
Yeah.
I love to have time because I can't buy. I could have all the money in the bank, but then
buy it.
Creatives
Yeah.
at first, we lose all that first.
yes,
When we start,
and this is
we
what
lose
I'm
all
looking.
of it.
Yeah, we lose all that,
And then we get it back. We're like, oh, this is great. I'm not giving this to you.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's how I feel. I'm like, oh my goodness, I do not want to lose that. You know, I love when I can go, you know, to one of my kids' events, you know, or go to a friend, you know, to meet up with a friend and, you know, help support in that way. So, you know, there's just a lot of, or if I want to go out and, you know, do something for myself, like you said, the creatives, we lose that. So much of what you're doing, Roy, is contingent on making that other person happy, right? So the photography, right? So how do you, all right, I'm not, how do you find time to do the creative stuff that you love?
Oh, here we go. That's amazing.
Well, the thing is that the only reason I'm doing it is because I like it. So, like, for me, it is like I would rather do this than I used to maybe go into Chicago and shoot photos all night. Yeah. Those are great, but I literally have like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hard drives that have photos on them that I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah. Do you ever go back and discover them? Like,
so I'm in the process of, my assistant is we're both trying to learn NFTs because I think I'm just sitting on like piles of them, but I don't understand what they mean.
I got it.
So we're trying to figure out, is there a way to convert them to that? Or should I like do like open up a print store, or like, where's the best monetary value over time for those unused assets?
yeah. But you were on, I cut you off when I said, did you go? Cause I'm fascinated by them. But what did you ask him?
Does he also find time for his passion?
Yes.
Like his photography
So,
passion?
yeah. Right.
That was the...
I think the coaching has become my passion.
That's right.
So like, I love shooting, and there's nothing.
So many parallels here, man. I
That's
love this.
very
This is
cool, man.
Go ahead.
So the ability to take like, okay, my buddy Brett sent me like the longest message this morning about how thankful he was because he's moving to a new market, and he now is being like, he's getting picked up on Google. He knows what to do, who to contact, and how to start getting like relationships out of other vendors without, you know, coming across as like gross. But I mean, like his whole mindset has kind of changed, and he's just so thankful. And for me, that gives me way back more than like, okay, I could go take a photo, I could go take pictures of sunset. I still like to take pictures of sunset.
Yeah.
I just don't care if I miss them anymore.
Gotcha.
That's crazy.
I like it. That was really cool.
There's one particular photo that I saw you take, and it's not of me. Okay, relax.
You sure?
Yeah. I will post one of me though in the video, just because I want you to be like, look, this is me, but this is what he made me look like. But there's one particular photo you took that I'll never forget it. I was always thumb through your stuff when it was a little bit earlier when you were sharing a lot of stuff on social media. But I was like, I got to know, were you laying down when you took that photo of that airplane between those buildings? There's these straight up buildings, and
I know exactly the photo.
This airplane is directly in the middle of the opening that would be produced by the buildings if you were looking straight up.
Right.
Are you ready to have the moment ruined?
Yeah.
Okay, so that photo, it's not that it doesn't take skill to take that photo, because it does. Because that photo specifically, I had my buddy he climbed up a dumpster, then some pipes, and got up to this like little awning that they have up there, and he was on his phone with it. And then I had taken a photo of a plane earlier that day, and I merged the two together. So it's actually a double exposure.
Very cool.
But it's not photoshopped in the way that I think most people are going to think. Like, I just like dropped a plane in. Yeah. But no, I was laying pretty much right on the concrete.
Yeah, because first of all, I have a little bit of like things leaning OCD. Me and Junior were working on something in this room earlier. You just looked at it. So the first thing that I noticed was like the perfection of the visual pipe. Okay, it produces this perfectly perfect 90-degree angles zooming in on this airplane that's placed perfectly in the center of the opening created by the buildings. And please, I hope people, I don't know if they'll be able to find that one day. I'm
sure they will. So that was actually part of a project I was working on for Google directly.
Yeah.
They had, it was either Google or Google Maps. They were starting out new things, and they sent out to a bunch of photographers. I was on their top team for Chicago. And so I just went around to the city and taking different photos, and then they would post them inside of, was it map lists or something like that? So you could go on Google Maps and find that location, and that'll be the first photo that'll come up.
Wow. How does he get there? How do you get to work for Google? Going around on a Segway?
It's a thing. It's a thing. You know? I know a guy that knows a guy.
Yeah. I wonder.
You know what's funny? The more I do this, the more my career is like that.
It is.
But in the beginning, no, I just happened to I would drop my images onto stock sites and different things just to see like, oh, would this make me money over time? By the way, if anyone's Googling that, no, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
No,
And you're
have to get
great.
really-
So
there
many
you go.
things don't make us money as
Yeah.
creatives. It's just hilarious. But
yeah,
go
I
ahead.
get.
So-
Even awards. I guess the same
Yeah.
question. Does that make you money? Like, indirectly.
yeah.
Yeah.
But no. So I had it on there. They found it and they got excited about it. And they said, okay, well, we're doing this new product launch. Would you like to, do this with us and then post it on Instagram? And that's like the whole gig.
Wow.
And so I did it. I was like, yeah, you're Google. Of course, I'm going to do that for you.
Yeah.
Right. I should have wrote down the questions that were popping up as he was
Yeah.
talking.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, we could go on forever.
That's good.
So
Make it a 2-parter. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, there you go.
We definitely do that. That'd be good. I'd love to have you back on because we could even break down some of these other things, not to take away, but just to actually, I feel like there's so many people that need to know a lot of this kind of stuff, know, especially small business entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Roy, I feel like you have a wealth of knowledge in this market.
Yep.
With small business. I love that you said that, you found your passion in coaching and mentoring. And that's something that has really grown in my life and in Jay's life. And that's one of the main reasons we started the podcast. And I love that for the small business,
Yeah.
So I think that's amazing. So I wanted to make sure I told you that before we move forward.
Who are we talking about? Okay, so podcasting is another
Yeah.
thing that I've gotten. Like I do guest spots on podcasts all the time.
Yeah.
Like this is another thing that I've really gotten into because it introduces me. Not only does it introduce me to other entrepreneurs that are looking for this kind of thing, but you get this like really fun community of people who are just creating things that are different from photos.
And audiences, right? Like,
Yeah.
we get to share audiences. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's a really good.
I guarantee you there'll be photographers and like because I'm well known within educational groups.
Yeah.
They'll all jump on and they'll be like, "Oh, you got another podcast going on? I want to find out what you dropped
Yeah.
there, whether it
We'd
was
love
on
to
purpose
have-
or on accident."
We just love like creative people, and I just feel like they are all like their souls are linked somehow.
Yeah.
Let's talk real quick about some of the awards you've won, Roy.
Sure.
Because first of all, by the way, remember he's coaching people, and so he doesn't have a lot of stock in school,
No school.
but he's literally become the school.
Yep.
Isn't that cool?
And this is so. Then he does. Let's say now.
I know what you're
like,
thinking
he
already.
doesn't have a degree to show you, but he can show you some freaking trophies
I can
and some
make a degree.
medals.
I have Photoshop.
I got a Photoshop. Yeah.
I have certificates actually from some of the educational courses I have taken.
Yeah.
But yeah, the awards, it's a funny thing because I forget that they exist half the time. Like I'll get a notification in my inbox and be like, "You won this award." And I'll be like, "I didn't even remember putting anything in for that. Which photo was it? Oh, great. Finally someone notices that one."
Right.
And so two times that has happened where like I've gotten awards that I didn't remember anyway, or they'll pick it up and I didn't actually submit for it, but I won it anyway.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where now I do it.
That's really cool.
When you're winning contests, you didn't even enter.
Yeah.
What the heck? Yeah.
Oh, well, the first thing I had to explain when I got the assistant was like, "Hey, dude, I don't know when this happens or why. So if you see it and I'm not paying attention to it, just make sure you at least let them know thank you."
Yeah, let them know. Thank you. And tell the paparazzi that we're taking pictures too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're taking pictures people want us to take.
Yeah, right. That's true.
I'm not getting in a fight with Justin Bieber when I leave here.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's things where I've won like awards with Fearless Photographers, which is like a huge community. And what's cool about them is, again, the benefit for rewards is not monetary. I think a lot of people think, oh, if you win an award, you're going to make money. Maybe indirectly, but like a publication will pick it up. They'll like Insider will pick up stuff from Fearless Photographers all the time.
Wow.
Looks Like Film is another one I won. And like different little local papers will pick it up, and all of a sudden it'll be in their list. Or I think I'm in a BuzzFeed article.
What?
Yeah, and they just pick up different, like, 2020 awards. This photographer was in here or there or whatever. Yeah. And I don't even, like, I'll get picked up in, like, something and I'll have no idea.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much how awards work. Weirdly enough, publishing is not very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
so how does Roy know when his photo's being used somewhere?
An email mostly. I don't really check.
Yeah.
I've had a few times where like a photographer will reach out to me and be like, "Hey, I don't know if you know, but like this guy took not just your photos, but your entire website layout and copy." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I'll send him a cease and desist, and that'll be like the end of it.
Wow.
People you see.
So he's like an attorney too, folks.
Jeez.
Oh no, I have
intellectual property
one.
attorney. Yeah.
It's a real cease and desist.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I can't control who takes what.
Yeah,
you know?
it's really a form of flattery, but you do need to nip it in the butt.
Yeah. Well, copy actually irritates me more than photos.
Because, what is copy? Explain that.
So like your website copy, like that talking to the customer, talking to that specific personality. If someone goes and just copies all of that, I actually spent time and wrote that, and that's not something I'm specifically skilled in. So then I'm like, oh, come on.
That's like somebody stealing your diary.
Yeah. You know, it would be like you taking a McDonald's logo and just inverting the colors.
McDonald's.
Yeah. Years ago, I spent Years ago, I spent a lot of time writing copy for my website, and I actually hired a writer to go over and proofread it. Yep. And then that guy charged me a fortune to just like put change a couple words around, but I'm okay with it because it actually, you know, it helped. You know, I know that that's his profession. And then I asked him, I said, hey, did I do a good job? He's like, yeah, you were all right. I'm thinking, you just changed 2 words, right? But those 2 words meant everything, right? Or whatever it was. I'm exaggerating. But when I see, like you said, that somebody another website pops up and they just copy and pasted all your information, like,
I can't believe you guys have experienced that.
Oh yeah, multiple times. I think that's
more. I've experienced that probably more than someone stealing my actual image. It's all the wording under the image.
Yeah, you know, they don't think of it the same way.
No, they don't think of it the same way.
They don't realize how long it takes to it'll take me twice as long to write copy as it does to do anything else. Because I'm very I have a client avatar that's next to me that I've written down, and I get real deep. Like sometimes my client, like who I'm trying to work with, page will be like 6 pages long. Wow. And so I'm very specific in who I'm trying to write for. And so when someone else takes it, I'm like, come on. But the thing is, Google does not like that, so it'll punish them for it.
It will. Oh,
yeah, nice. So they won't rank as much. Oh. But again, if they're on page if they're still on page 1, it's kind of a problem.
Yeah. Oh, that was awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that with us, man.
Yeah, of course.
There's so much that I've learned in this.
We noticed that
45
minutes.
Like
great conversation. There is almost no end to it. It's infinite.
Yeah.
And we just have to be like, hey, we're going to have to write back. And it'll be, you know, in the spirit of another form of conversation, I suppose, but it'll always have creativity weaved into it because I do believe at this table right now are 3 very blessed creative people.
Yeah.
And Roy, I love having you as a friend. I know that if I said, hey, Roy, I need you to tell me if I'm going down the wrong path, you would be like, yeah, that's crazy.
Of course.
Right? You know, and that's what
I might have fun with it.
Yeah, I know. You probably would have fun with it. Thank you so much for your time. And you probably had 4 people hit you up via email while we were in here.
I've probably
40.
40. God, I hope not.
We want to hit you with some rapid fire questions.
Yeah, these are awesome. These are fun.
Do it. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. Has he told you about rapid fire before? Have you?
I've heard it on the podcast a few times. It's not like I didn't just come on here. Like, hey, let me get on.
Hey, so you are a listener of ours, at least one? That's awesome, man. Yeah. I listened to episode 1 or 2 over again, and I realized that I'm still shooting for that one listener, shoot from the hip 259, like, you know what I'm saying? That guy. Yeah. What would you call him? Willie from wherever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just a random handle. One guy, with a random handle that needed to hear something that we said on this podcast or before.
Yeah.
So when I sit next to someone and you just said, "Yeah, I listen to you guys," I'm like, that's so cool. This guy listens to us.
I know.
That's really cool. So I'm still starstruck with that stuff. But yeah. All right, we'll do the rapid fire questions. All right. So like I always preface, you can change your mind like right after you say this. Sure. So I'm not holding you to any of these answers. All right. So if you had a favorite artist that you wanted to work with, who would it be?
Ooh, Ben Adams.
Okay. Do we know him?
Probably not. I've worked with him before.
All right. That's awesome. He's going to hear this and he's going to be like, whoa, me. Who would you like to collaborate with?
Who I want to collaborate with? There is...
I should be specific. In photography.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Wedding photography. Let's go even more
specific down to wedding photography.
Yeah.
Okay, so that first answer actually qualifies for this question, but I'll give you another one.
Okay.
It's another Ben Hartley.
All right. Awesome. If you weren't an artist or a photographer, what would you be doing now?
Yeah, that's a good question.
If I wasn't a photographer.
Or a creative. We'll just say,
not a creative or
not a creative.
Not a creative at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, what would you do? Like you, Roy.
I don't know. I honestly don't know if I have any skills that would be useful outside of being creative. I mean, I'm great at sales, don't get me wrong, but like at the same time, I don't know if I'd know any of those skills if I wasn't a photographer. So I think, even when I was a kid, I wanted to be an architect.
Me too.
All right. Yeah. You too?
Yeah.
Interesting. I
was terrible at math
all the
though.
time.
Yeah.
So those buildings would have been.
Do you binge on Netflix? And if you do you have any specials you watch? You want to share with us?
I do. So one awesome part of photography is that you're always editing and you need constant noise. So I'll do podcasts, I'll do music, I'll do whatever. I just finished binging Ozarks.
Okay.
Good choice.
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet.
Really?
I keep passing. I'm like, And then I jump
It's
onto
really
like
good.
Selling California.
Dude,
That's my guilty pleasure. I'm messing with you guys.
that's a joke.
Yeah, that's a joke.
Okay.
That's a real joke. All right. Last meal on earth. What are you eating?
Steak.
Good man.
From a specific place?
No.
No. Is the steak as good in Florida as it is out here?
Steak is, pizza's not.
I heard that so many times.
No.
Right.
There's a really great pizza place, but I have to drive all the way across the state to get it.
It's not very wide state.
Yeah.
We're good.
I'll still do it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's good pizza.
What advice would you give your 12-year-old self?
12-year-old self?
Yeah.
I'd never asked. Are we supposed to swear? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, dude, it's okay. Yeah.
That's all right.
All right, cool. Man, I think I'd probably tell myself to be a little less cocky.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, a little more humble. It'd be good.
Yeah. Humble is a good trait.
Yeah. Do you feel that you've carried that trait now more so than?
Oh, absolutely.
But it just took you longer to get there.
Times.
It took you longer to get there.
Yeah.
So you would have wanted to hit that.
Yeah.
Mark
If I would have seen the benefits of being humble at that age, I probably would have been wherever I wanted to be faster.
What is it? Do you feel that made you not as humble?
I don't. I'm not entirely sure exactly what.
Are you just a smart kid? Like
I was a smart kid.
I feel like he's witty.
Yeah.
And quick.
He's witty, he's quick, and he's a hard worker for when he wants something. And those before you know it.
I think that before you know it, you could be like, wait, everybody's like me or nobody's like me.
Yeah.
And I was funny, but I didn't know how to control it at the time. So like it came off like very mean.
Okay.
And it was very unintentionally mean.
Yeah. All right, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Something we like to do when nobody's looking.
I don't think we should talk about that.
All right.
I'm just kidding. Something I like to do when nobody's looking. Oh man, I meditate.
Okay.
Wow.
Awesome. Very big into meditation.
Yeah, I feel like that's really important. I'm an advocate of that. So
yeah.
Happiest memory to date.
Okay.
You can change your mind right after you say it. So
I'm the type of person where if you tell me to remember something, I've forgotten everything I've ever done in my entire life.
Okay. Yeah. I get it.
And so like, well, even
it's funny.
Okay, the funniest thing that's happened recently, I have this book that I'm in for the pandemic. Like it's was it when the year time stopped, the pandemic in photos, and I'm in it for wedding photos. Oh. I forgot that I was in this book, and I didn't know until I got an email and it said like schedule an interview for this for a podcast to talk about the book, and I'm like, what book? Because I'm thinking it's like they're like in my Audible list or something, and they're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So then I looked at it and I could not stop laughing because I'm in like a history book and entirely forgot it existed.
That's cool,
man. What a great book, though. Like the what you just how you explained it. That sounds like it's going to be epic.
I'm hoping so. I don't know who the other photographers are, but if they have just a big spread of meat, no, I'm just kidding.
So you're going to make everybody look like zombies in photography, in wedding outfits.
Yeah.
I hope not.
No, I'm just messing around. All right.
That's what you wanted at your wedding.
Most influential person in your life, and what lesson did they teach you?
Oh man, there's a guy named Daniel Tacchini. So he runs a workshop. It's called The Revenant in Texas. It's actually I'll be a leader for it coming up, and it's he calls it a gymnasium for the mind. And so
really cool.
It really is. It's really I've referred to it as the best worst thing I've ever done to myself.
Okay.
Wow.
And so there's like aspects of like group therapy with it. There's aspects of like getting in your own thinking and kind of like it's like a round chair type thing. So you can kind of like look up to this guy and be like, okay, I think this way, and he'll be like, no, this is why, or he'll tell you, what is it? But what if it wasn't, and would you want to know? Right. So you just apply that to every way you're thinking of things. And so he's definitely like that just, I listen to him, and he's got a podcast too, but literally just absolutely amazing person.
Wow. Awesome. All right. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, flight, easy.
He said flight easy. All right. Do you have a guilty pleasure?
Several. I don't know what's the context and like what do you
what do you think? What should the guilty pleasure be? Something you enjoy
some people go lame and they go, yeah, like I said, I watch a lot of Netflix, and some people, some people will literally say that, I love junk food.
Okay. So very extremely tame.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be though. I mean, if we want our ratings to go up.
Actually, it's weird. So up until I think 26, I've never touched like pot or any of that stuff. I went to Vegas and I tried it because I was in Vegas. It was legal. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to go to prison. This is okay. So
I hear that a lot.
This was the worst time. Like, it was terrible. Like, I went with my friends and they had done it before, and I was like, I don't feel anything. They're like, oh, just have 4 more cookies. So I had like 100 milligrams of it for the first time. It's terrible. So I ended up about a year ago. I get cluster headaches, and the doctor's like, okay, so you should try like an indica edible for it. Yeah. And now it's like, once every like 2 or 3 months, I'll if it's not for headache reasons, I'll have it and I'll just kind of chill, and I'll do that instead of.
I had a headache.
Hey, it works. So I'll do like a 5 milligrams of that. Instead of like going out and having a drink with friends or whatever. Yeah. Because there's no hangover.
Gotcha.
As long as it's legal where you're doing it. Gotcha. Don't do drugs.
Double stuff Oreos though. Stay off them double stuff, bro.
Double stuffed Oreos.
Oh yeah, no, that's real.
We just got real on the podcast. It's double stuffed Oreos, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I couldn't just tell you sometimes I like to go for walks when no one's there. Like, no, I'm not going to give you.
I like your answer. It was good. Do you have a biggest fear?
Yeah. Several again.
Okay.
Heights to an extent, which is weird because I've been in open door planes.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. Hung out like the side and there was no problem. But yeah, heights. Heights where like I could fall and live are the ones I don't like.
Okay.
So like because you break your leg, like that's terrible.
Do you believe that if you fall and die, you die in real life?
In your dream.
Yeah, in your dream.
Yeah.
No. Because I'll get they call them hypnic jerks.
Okay.
And so you literally feel like you're falling, and then you're just like, oh, I'm in a mattress. This is okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so no, I don't think that happens.
All right.
That's a fun question.
Can you do any impressions?
No. Not any good ones, no.
All right, that's fine. Funniest thing you've read about yourself?
Oh, funniest or funnest?
Funniest. Either one, it doesn't matter.
I read one time that I was a specialist in boudoir photos. And what's funny about that is
what?
Boudoir.
I gotta go look that one up. What is it?
So it's like, what's a good way to put this? That's okay. So it's like nudes, but professional nudes for women or even guys. And the funny thing about this is, I legitimately since the beginning of being a photographer have told people I don't do that.
Yeah.
Especially as a wedding photographer, because that puts me in the most awkward position of all time with the groom.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Like, hey bro, it was great. She looks awesome naked. I'll see you at the wedding.
Yeah, this is such a strange thing. It's bizarre to me that you've actually been forward about not doing that, and yet you somehow got linked to it anyway.
Oh yeah. There was a website linking, and like this is the thing. Like some of these websites are terrible. They just have like some random outsourced person coming through and they'll pick up your website and they'll put you under category. So I like read it and I'm like, not one time have I done. I've been asked, but we don't do that.
Yeah.
And even like the way you get into boudoir photos is
I can't imagine.
So, it's good for girls. Girls can do that.
This is my funny story on that. So I had a really good friend and he invited me to his house. I've never been to his house or anything.
Sure.
And we had been friends for like, a couple of years at this point. He's like, yeah, come over. As soon as I walk in, I'm like, I love this house, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the way he put it together, super creative guy. He taught me a lot about color. So I'm like, wow, that's really cool. He's the kind of guy that like, if he built something, he would inlay like 3 different really neat woods exotic woods from Africa and South America to make his frame. Okay.
Sure, yeah.
And you're just like, wow. So talking about frames, I'm coming down the stairs and there's this photo that has to be 3 foot by 3 foot, and it's of this amazing tree in Utah somewhere. Okay. Like kind of deserty and it's black and white photo. And as I'm looking, I'm like, I see body parts in the tree. Like, and I'm like, so it's a gorgeous photo. Yeah. And he sees me like staring at the tree. I still haven't really caught like the full glimpse of, and he walks up, he's like, oh yeah, my wife's there. Look, she's naked. She's on the tree. And I'm just like, oh, all of a sudden, this is just hanging up on his house. I'm like, oh no. Oh. So that was my experience with that type of photography. It was beautiful art.
Sure.
But it just kind of took me by surprise. I wasn't,
It's
wasn't
weird
expecting it.
for another man to be like, hey, that's my wife.
Yeah.
She's naked. Do you want to see?
Yeah.
You know what? Get your phone. I'll take a picture. It's
He
fine.
literally told everybody that got there that day that. So I'm just like, wow,
Heck, I don't
that's
see my
crazy.
wife naked enough. I don't want nobody else to see her. Shoot.
That's what the picture's for, dude.
Yeah,
That's
you
what
go.
the picture's for.
Again, get a female photographer to do it, though. So you don't have to fight anybody.
That's it. That's it. All right, we're hitting closer to the end.
Okay.
What's your favorite movie?
Lawless.
Lawless.
It's the one with, was it Tom Hardy?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, that was cool. I remember that one. Yep. Your most used emoji.
Probably the laughing one.
The laughing one.
Almost all the time.
My new one is the one with two eyes that look like they're looking to the left or something. Like looking at what I just wrote.
Yeah.
Two big round white eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's a good
For
one.
whatever reason, I feel like it's so important that everybody like rereads what I put. So in my own
Subliminal message.
yeah, that's
Just
my
read it
subliminal.
again.
Yeah, please look at it again.
Yeah, look at it.
that's
You
why I
didn't
use
do
that.
it good enough.
Yeah.
I need you to comprehend this.
Yes, comprehend this.
There will be quizzes.
Yeah. Do you? Who do you go to for advice?
It depends on what I'm looking for advice for. But I have a friend, Gary, who's like a serial entrepreneur. And so I'll reach out to him from time to time. Then I have another one who's local in town. We go on wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go on walks together. Nice. So I'll talk to him about stuff.
And this is the last one.
Yeah.
If you had to leave this world today,
Okay.
and all you had was a piece of paper and a pen, and you could only leave 3 words, what 3 words would they be?
Well, did I die or am I coming back?
You're not coming back.
Okay. But you didn't specify that I died.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
no.
it's fine.
Yeah.
I like
You
the way
left
his
me
brain thinks, right? He's like, wait a second.
You
yeah.
left me in like a very strange like middle ground.
Yeah,
You didn't go to
yeah.
Mars
Nope,
with
nope,
Elon
nope.
Musk. You
No.
are not coming back.
You're not coming back.
Oh man, I'd have to mess with people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would put I'm in East.
I'm in
East. So that people would be like looking around and I wouldn't be anywhere near the area.
That is so funny.
That's the first one. He's like, what the? Look at
Which
Jay.
baby? Which side of the east side of this building?
Yeah.
I'm messed up.
That's good, man. That's really good stuff, man. It's super creative.
Yeah.
I really had fun talking to you today.
I feel like I learned
So-
something. How about you?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I
hope
did.
so.
And if you want to learn more, you're going to want to contact Roy Serafin.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And there'll be some of those links in the bios of anything that we share, Roy,
Yeah.
that has your name on it. I promise you, we won't steal any of your art. We'll have all
Listen,
your
you can.
permission.
It won't make sense for what you're doing, but it's fine. Be like, your wedding photos will be amazing. And it's like a picture of you guys at a podcast table.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
So the way we normally finish is we just say who we were, and we started that way, so we'll
Yeah.
finish that way, okay? So my name is Jay Casey,
I'm Fernando Lopez Jr.
And I'm Roy Serafin.
and this has been the Mental Edge Podcast.
We out.
Sincerely hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mental Edge Podcast. Please remember to like, subscribe, follow, and share. Until next week,